We start with Ephesians chapter 4, verse 1, and this is what Paul says, therefore. Now, of course, anytime you see a therefore, you have to see what it's there for. So it's based on the previous things that Paul has just said. Therefore, I, the prisoner of the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling with which you have been called. Verse 2, with all humility and gentleness and patience, bearing with one another in love. Now we'll pause there because he says, walk worthy in a manner of the calling you've received, with which you've been called. That is our next step to maturity, is walk in a manner worthy of your calling. The word calling here is klesis, right? And so it means the invitation that God has invited you to be part of what he's doing, his mission. He's going to accomplish his mission, and he has called you out. He has invited you to take part in this. What's interesting is in the Gospels, Jesus walks up to people and he says, follow me. But that's the opposite of the way the culture did those things, right? Rabbis would be going and teaching, and a disciple would walk up and say, I will follow you. And basically, giving like a pat on the back to that rabbi, saying, hey, I like what you're teaching. I like the way you teach. I like what you say. So I'm going to follow you. I'm going to leave anyone else behind, and I'm going to follow you. And Jesus doesn't do that. He doesn't wait for people to come to him and say, hey, I'll follow you. He went and chose at least his 12 disciples, possibly more, and went and said, follow me, because he recognized that they needed to be a part. They were invited. They were called out to be a part of this mission. And he says, so walk worthy in a manner of your calling, with all humility. And then he says how? With all humility, which isn't a strong point of a lot of people. Pride is always going to be an issue. So be humble, right? Be gentle, with patience. And it's this Greek word, macrothymia, which I may be mispronouncing, but it means endurance. Like you're with all humility and gentleness, with patience. This patience means endurance, long suffering, perseverance. You don't quit easily just when things get hard and difficult. You understand that bad things happen to everybody, whether you're a Christian or non-Christian. The difference is who walks with you in those bad things. And if you're a believer in Christ, God is walking with you through those difficult moments. And so we have to persevere. And then he says, bearing with one another in love. That word bearing is anakomai, something like that. Again, I don't know how to pronounce it, but that's how it's spelled. And so it means that we're suffering, we're enduring with one another in love. We will suffer. We will have to endure difficult days, difficult weeks, months, years. In my life, it seemed like almost every year something went wrong. And I remember it was December of 2019. I turned to my wife and I said, you know what? 2020 is going to be our year. We are going to have just a banner year. And I feel good things about 2020. And if you're a student of history and you've been alive for a little bit, you understand 2020 was a terrible year for pretty much everybody in the world, with COVID hitting. And but we still persevere. Like, we still have to walk forward, and we still will suffer, and we still will endure hardships, but we do so with love, and we bear with one another through those hardships in love. That word love, Paul didn't use the word phileo. He didn't use the word brotherly love, like, just be friendly and familial love and brotherly love. No, he used agape, this unconditional love. We must bear with one another in unconditional love. That's how we love our neighbor as ourselves. Not this brotherly love, hey, I made you a casserole, and then you never talk to him again. It's, I'm going to help you through this painful situation that you're going through. You're not going through it alone. And so we walk worthy of our calling, and we bear one another's burdens together in love. So that's Ephesians chapter 4, verses 1 through 2.